Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Rebecca Valera. I'm a former teacher turned realtor living here in McKinney, Texas. I've got a little bit of a new setting here in my office because the lighting's just a little bit better and it's not going to go out, but there's really nobody here except for the people that are cleaning the offices. So you may hear some voices in the background, and that's just the wonderful cleaners here. I do have a great guest today. So I want to introduce her, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. We'll be answering any and all questions that you have for what buyers can expect here in 2021. Happy New Year.
Hello.
So why don't you go ahead and
I think it's just me now. Hi, my name is Kristina Smallhorn. I am a real estate agent here in Louisiana. I've been doing real estate for about 13 years. On my channel, I have a YouTube channel as well, but I mostly talk about affordable housing and affordable housing options for people. Some people will call it alternative housing, like tiny homes. I also talk about manufactured homes and modular homes. That's kind of my specialty. I also talk about the market quite a bit, and I do these live streams just as like Rebecca is here. I do them on every Sunday, and I talk to other real estate agents to talk about what's going on in their market. Rebecca, glad to have you back.
Sorry about that. I was trying to do something weird and it just like flopped us. And then she was on the spotlight and she was like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, I can talk. That was funny.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what buyers can expect here in 2021. So if you are thinking about making a purchase for a home in 2021, and it may get a little bit loud, so I may have to move to a room in just a little bit, but we'll deal with that bridge. Hopefully that vacuum noise isn't too loud. Is it disturbing?
I can't hear anything.
Okay. All right. So first we're going to, so my prediction as far as what buyers can expect, I kind of think it's going to be a lot of the same as to what we're seeing right now, with multiple offers, people offering over asking price to get these properties, which is driving housing prices up and up and up. Buyers just really kind of putting everything on the line, offering to pay for the seller's closing costs for this or that or whatever, just so they can get into a property. Because if they wait, then they run the risk of, maybe a month later, that same property is probably worth even more. So what are you seeing there in Louisiana, and what do you think is going to happen for buyers in 2021? We'll kind of start there.
It's the same here. I mean, not to the degree I would say in like Austin, Texas. I saw in Red Rock, it was some was it Red Rock or Round Rock? Sorry, yeah. Round Rock. They had a house that had like 97 offers on it in one day. Like, that's just silliness. And I hadn't seen things like that since 2007. Mm-hmm. And this should be a warning for everybody, in my opinion. A lot of real estate agents think I'm absolutely out of my mind, but they didn't live through this. When this happened prior, mm-hmm. It's unsustainable. So if there's a house that has 96 offers on it, I as a buyer, like, why would you pay $30,000 more than the market is allowing for? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Absolutely no sense. And my prediction is the fact that because of there was such a lack of supply due to various reasons, we didn't have enough new homes being built because of supply chain problems. That's not going to happen this year. The supply chain problems have been corrected. Builders are now continuing to build. And now that they know that there is this surplus of buyers that are sitting there waiting for new houses to be built, they're going to build them. Yeah. And all these sellers that have been on the fence going, maybe I shouldn't sell, or maybe I should sell now. Now they're going to end up selling. So I predict that the supply of homes is going to go up. I also think that since the supply is going to go up, It's not necessarily going to make the houses prices go down. They'll either flatten or not go up in the rate that they've been going up now. The thing that a lot of real estate agents don't realize and they don't think about is there's a group of Americans in the United States that didn't get any kind of financial reprieve when it came to the CARES Act. And those are people that live in houses where they don't own the land underneath it. Those are manufactured homes. They did not get any kind of reprieve as far as the mortgage, like where you get, forbearance. They didn't get that. And they didn't get any kind of reprieve for the rental of the land. They still had to continue to pay during that time. Those are the same people that were more likely to lose their job. And those are the same people that are the most affected by this whole situation that's going on. So what's going to happen to them? Investors are going to buy them out. There's going to be a lot of people that are not going to have homes next year by the end of the year next year. And we keep kicking the can down the road as far as mortgage forbearance. At some point, something's going to give. Right. If you can hold off buying a house, your first house, I can't say, I'd say reevaluate it at the end of 2021.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get into this market now, especially if I was a new home buyer. I don't think that it can sustain this level of growth. It's virtually impossible, especially since the price of a first-time home average in the United States is literally people that were making $170,000, $130,000 a year. Right. And the average American family of four doesn't make $100,000 a year. So it's not balanced out. And what makes this country move forward and keep going and be going strong is affordable housing for the average American family, which it isn't at this point.
Right. It is. And I think that's why I think the rental market is going to see a big boom here in 2021, because like you said, where are these people going to go that couldn't get the forbearance? And at a certain point, it's kind of like, well, the only thing they can do at this point is to take their losses and start renting again. Which if they're, those that are renting now, if they have to rent, because there are those that rent temporarily so they can, check out a certain area of the United States. Like there's people that relocate here to Dallas, Fort Worth. Not all of them are just going to make a purchase right out of the gate. They're going to rent maybe for a year. They're going to check out the area. They're going to do more research when they're here. And then when they have the means to do it, they're going to make a purchase. And I think that's kind of true with any market. You shouldn't just rush into it and think that, oh, well, I have to make a purchase right now or my world's going to end. You need to make sure that you have the savings and the money set aside, and you're not house poor. Like a lot of people say, you don't want to pay more than a third of what you're bringing in as a family, if you have a family. But let's,
you have a question.
Yes, we have a question.
Go for the question.
Go for the question now. So Amar Abraham says, hello, for cash investment, single family house in North Fort Worth area. What are other options besides county foreclosures or going to the auction is what he's saying. And what is the expectation for this year? Wait until mid-year. So he's talking about from an investment standpoint, should he try to make a purchase? I would say that good deals are going to be difficult to find, especially in more of a seller's market. I think that's what investors are kind of coming up against. And a lot of times too, they're competing against people in this market that are waiving their foreclosure, or not foreclosure. Oh my gosh, it starts with an F. They're waiving their appraisals. They're waiving their inspections because these home buyers desperately want a home. And if there's any type of letter that's involved, I've seen sellers take a person who's going to live in a property over an investor for that very reason, because they're like, well, I don't want to sell my house to an investor. So there's some of that going on, but I still feel like a good deal is going to be really difficult to find in 2021 from an investment standpoint. What are your thoughts?
I don't know the Fort Worth area. In our
so than Dallas.
I will, since I do look at it from a different little perspective, if you're interested in buying like for, I don't know what your investment is, what you're looking for, if you're looking for single family dwellings, but I can tell you from where I live, if you were looking to buy manufactured homes as a resale and use them for rental properties, they're a gem. Like they're easy to repair, they're easy to fix back up, and they're easy to put back on the market. So if you were looking for that, those will work. And I don't know if they have them around your area. I don't know if that's a thing.
I know there are a couple of parks like south, I guess.
My dream is to own a manufactured home park. And
Oh,
like my husband and I want to own one. I want to live in the front one, so that way I can like take care of all my little guests that live in the neighborhood. Yeah, they're great. They're great. And like the people that are investors here that invest in parks and invest in owning them to rent them out, all of their tenants paying cash. Like every single one of them. You go to their door or they show up to your office and they just hand you cash. It's really nice. They're perfect. They're great. They're great renters.
yeah. And I think it may also become a more affordable option for people who are wanting a little bit more separation than an apartment. And as far as Fort Worth goes, Fort Worth is a less expensive part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Mm-hmm. So I know that there are still some pretty good deals, even new construction in the, like, I think I saw they were still in like the $200,000 range in North Fort Worth. So if you're interested in even in buying a new house, would be a good investment, I believe. And North Fort Worth is a more popular part of Fort Worth than South Fort Worth, but there's a lot of the development is just going up, and so you see newer properties, and I think that's what the big draw is. People want to live in newer communities and newer homes, and that's just kind of what draws people into the area.
Amara, what I was just thinking as she was talking is maybe what you could do is if you I don't know what your price point is, but maybe you can get in with one of these builders. And if you were building like 3 houses, they'll cut you a deal. So if you're working with a real estate agent and you say, hey, I want to buy these 3 houses, I want to buy 3 houses from you as a builder, they'll cut you a deal for a little less money because you're building 3 houses. Yeah. So you may want to check in with a couple builders. That's just one of those things to check out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me know, Amar. I'm here. What is it? Just a faithless or a plug, just a mindless plug there. So let's
shameless plug.
Word. It's a Wednesday. I'm sorry, guys. Shameless plug there. So I want to talk a little bit more about why we're seeing, especially here in Texas, and I guess just there's different hotspots. Like we mentioned Austin before. Mm-hmm. Austin is just like super red hot. Market
Texas is hot. Texas is hot. Texas is hot. All of Texas.
All of Texas.
I don't know of one person that I know in the Texas that is a Texas real estate agent that isn't on fire busy with people moving in from all sorts of places. Yeah. And a lot of people I know in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Nevada area, they're extremely busy. And it's mostly because of the mass exodus from California. Yeah. Numerous reasons why, but there's a lot of industry that's moved to Austin, Texas from California.
A lot of big businesses are
tech
in drones. Tech, is definitely they're moving their headquarters, and with headquarters comes people. So that's just, and when Toyota moved here to Dallas about, how long ago was that? Maybe 3 to 4 years ago, we experienced a huge surge in people just from that, like one major company coming in, and it was like summertime. So it's always busy in summer anyway. And we experienced a very similar market to what we are in right now. I didn't see any full waivers of the appraisal. I saw partial waivers, but multiple offers, bids $20,000, $30,000 above asking. But I think,
and I never thought I'd see that again. After 2007, I swear I thought people learned their lesson.
I was hoping that, because when I saw it in Dallas, because it was
So dumb.
Dallas specific, when that happened, I was hoping, and then it took us a couple of years to just really gain back the inventory that we had lost from that. And then the market just kind of leveled out, and it was more of like an equal number of buyers and sellers. And I was just like, this is so wonderful. It needs to stay this way. And then the pandemic hit. I was just like, no, seller's market again. Here we go. And it wasn't as bad here in Dallas at first. Like as soon as the inventory levels got low, I want to say right around October, November, it started to get really bad. And even in December, it was over the top again. I had a listing in December, and we had 13 offers. Half of them were cash, and they were above asking. And then I had the other offers, that we had were like full waivers. So they were like cash anyway. It was just insane, the type of response that we got. And we were even trying to push, I told the seller, I said, let's try to push the market a little bit, since we know it's hot out there. Let's try to push it a little bit. And even then we saw, just because of the low inventory, it was insane. But
we had low inventory here. We did. Yeah. We had some low inventory here, but I'm thinking though, because of the inventory problem, that the sellers got pretty greedy at one point, and those houses that were above a certain price point ended up sitting because sellers thought they were sitting on a gold mine. And at some point that, their buyers are saying, you know what, I don't need a house that big. I'd rather get this house,
Right.
And I do think that there will be a leveling, if not dropping in prices of the upper end, because people, I think, got a little too greedy in that aspect. That's just too high for a house.
I think there's a normal shift and a normal transition, because you get to the top of the market and the seller's like, oh, we can get this much more. Or even in a buyer's market or an even market, you still will have sellers that'll just try to push it and say, well, my house is really worth $30,000 more than what you're saying it is, by golly. And we put it on the market for $30,000 more, and it just sits. And I'm just like, the market is telling us that you're overpriced. Like, it's not, I could tell you all day long, I could give you speeches and try to convince you, but the market is telling you that you're overpriced.
One of my favorite things to say to a seller that says, why isn't my house not selling? Yeah. My favorite sentence is, the market has rejected your price.
Yes.
The market has dictated the fact that your price is unacceptable, and it's not willing to sell at that price. You have to drop your price.
Right.
And that's not me telling you that. That's the market. No one's come through your house. You've had no offers. There's only one problem with it, the price. And that usually gets people to go, oh. Because I'm not saying it. The market's saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you still don't want to like underestimate the market, because I think that's what a lot of people are doing. I think if you kind of push it maybe $5 or $10,000, I think an appraiser can kind of see, well, you did get multiple offers, and you are pushing it a little bit, but that's they could justify it. Do
you have anybody doing silly tricks? Do you have anybody doing like a silly trick where they purposely lower, like will make a low offer? Like they list the house. The house will be worth $325, but they put it on the market for $290 or $295. So they get a bunch of offers come in, because then they look like a superstar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. I know people that do that all the time, and I see it, and I'm like, well, I think they really missed this one. So if you want to waive the appraisal, let's do it, because I'll judge I'll judge to see like what is sold recently, and I'll advise my clients that way. See like, what can we do to still have some protection? And it's all about, what they want to do in the end. I'm not going to force them to say, you have to do this waiver of the appraisal to get your offer accepted. No, we're going to see what the market is doing. I'm going to give you some information. And then if you decide that that's what you want to do, then we'll do it. If you're not comfortable, we don't have to do it. So,
right. And I want to like stress to people, when we say we advise our clients on what to do, advise with information, not advise because we feel that way. It's always comes in there's a book that shows all the comparables that have sold in that area, price per square foot. So that way you're not overpaying or you're, or that you're getting a good deal. We never want you to pay more than it's worth. I think people get that twisted. And the other thing is that just because you spent $10,000 more, don't think that we're encouraging you to spend $10,000 more because it helps our commission, because $10,000 that you spent more for our commission was literally like $75. It's not enough for you to hate us. Like $75 is not worth you being ticked off at us. We're doing it because we want you to win the house. I just think people should know that.
Yeah. And it's all about how bad they want it. At the end of the day, when we look at the offer and I say, you did this and you wanted to do this and this with your offer, I say, okay, well, how bad do you want it? If I were to present this to the seller and the seller says, nope, we chose another offer that was higher than yours, how would you feel? Would you feel like you could have gone a little bit higher? Or do you feel like, no, we're right where we need to be? So you really kind of have to think yourself through what's going to happen, I think, at the end as well, from a buyer's perspective, because you don't want to have that regret of like, oh, I should have offered like just a little bit more and maybe we could have got it.
Mm-hmm.
So Allison has she says, are you ladies taking questions? Oh,
I answered her because as you were talking, I was like, I'll go ahead and answer her. Yes, of course we're taking questions.
Yes.
One of my favorite things to do is answer questions. I have a million opinions. Just ask me. Go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, so we'll let her work her question magic. And while we're waiting on her question, let's talk a little bit about low interest rates. What do we see for 2021?
They're going to keep them low. My problem is, and this is why I think that some of the prices may even actually go up higher, is because the valuation of the dollar is going to get weaker as they keep the interest rates so low. I'm concerned of the fact that, like they just keep printing money to solve a problem, like how long can we do this? How long can we print money in order to solve a problem? It is like one of the few things that I learned in history class is I had to do a report on Ulysses S. Grant. And when I did that report on Ulysses S. Grant, one of the things that ruined America during that time was the fact that they kept printing money. Yeah. So I'm like, please stop doing this, Fed, please. There has to be, like, you can't keep weakening the dollar by keep printing money. So that's my concern of the housing costs and prices and where it's going to go, and if they're going to go up and down. I don't know.
With inflation, yeah. I think
the interest rates aren't going to go up. They're not. But if the dollar is worthless, then you're going to have, like, there's one country, like, you literally have to bring a suitcase of food of money just by Apple because the dollar's worthless.
Yeah. Or some people are using it as toilet paper in other countries because it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, it's not really worth anything anymore. So
yeah, it's worth nothing. There's one place they were literally having a parade where they were throwing money in the streets and no one was even picking up. I think that was somewhere in Africa. I can't remember exactly where that was. I mean, it could have been, like, I remembered, but I remember seeing that picture of them just, there was money just everywhere because it was worthless. So I hope that, a wrap around all of that. We can't keep printing it.
No, I think there's a statistic out there somewhere that says like 15% of all money ever printed was printed this year, something crazy like that, something like 15 or 20% of all money we've ever printed was printed this year. Like, that's insane. Like, just kind of wrap your brain around that. And I'm just thinking, inflation, I am seeing a little bit higher prices at the grocery store, I think, as a result of that. Gas is still extremely low here. So I'm not really seeing it from the oil and gas industry, but I think prices are starting to kind of creep up a little bit with just kind of basic supplies. So Allison has her question, so we're going to put that in the stream. She says, how do you shop with a lender? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the host said to shop lenders before getting a realtor. Can you ladies talk a little bit about this? Absolutely. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Sure. Sure. Okay. So, there's two ways you can handle this. A lot of times, if you have a real estate agent that you've been working with and you know very closely, they have a bank of lenders that they know personally, that they know exactly would work well with you. But if you want to shop for your lender first, I would say go to your local bank first. A lot of the big branches that you do online, you don't get that personal one-on-one experience. You're talking to several people that are in a chain. Like, you give your paperwork to one person, then it goes to the next person, then you get used to that person, then it goes to the next person, then it goes to the next person, and you never talk to anybody. You never you always talk to another person, and you've never seen them face to face. So I always say, at least go to your local bank, if even where you have your local checking account, then find another one, and then find at least one more. So you have three that you've spoken to personally.
Right.
And make your determination there, and ask for a sheet that shows the breakdown of what they charge for your loan. So that way, if, for instance, this is the way you shop for a loan. If you find one person you like working with, but their prices seem a little bit higher than the one down the road, but that person was a dingleberry, you can go ahead and say, hey, Dingleberry down the road gave me these rates. Can you do this? Can you do this? And many, many, many times they'll say, let me talk to my boss, and they'll work something out. So you'll get that same deal that you got from Dingleberry, but you get to work with the person you wanted to work with.
I tell people to do similar things. I do have a set list of people. So, Allison, if you're in Dallas and you need that list for Dallas, let me know. If you're in Louisiana, like Kristina is, and you're a fan of her and her channel, I reach out to her because she's got a list. But if you're going it alone, I would say you want to find a lender that is going to be available. I would say more than just Monday through Friday, because that's a good sign. That's a sign of a good lender, because you want to have good customer service and be able to have them answer questions, on the weekend when you're out looking for properties. So that's the first thing I tell people. The other thing is shop interest rates. So every bank is going to allow, based on your credit and some other factors in your debt to income ratio, they're going to kind of get a picture of what type of a client you are, how much you could get approved for, and they're going to give you a rate based on, your credit, how much you're going to put down, all those factors, right? So shop interest rates. And then the third thing is kind of similar to what Kristina was saying, in that you need to make sure you're looking to see the fine print to see how much do they actually charge you for servicing the loan. Every lender is going to be different. Some will charge you $5,000. With Keller Mortgage, because I'm with Keller Williams, they will charge you $0 to do your loan, and all you have to do is pay for your appraisal. Now, there's some other caveats to that, but so you kind of want to see where you feel you're going to get the best customer service for the best interest rate for the best
terms.
Exactly.
I'll finish your sentence for you.
I will allow it. Don't worry.
She's in Houston. I know some Houston peeps. I got lots of real estate agent friends over there in Houston.
Yeah. So
I used to live in Kingwood 100 years ago.
Kingwood.
Yeah, Kingwood, Texas. I used to live there.
That's north. Is that North Houston, right? No.
I don't know. I lived in Kingwood. I have no idea.
There is another location in Houston.
I don't know. We only lived there for a year and a half, but I lived in Kingwood.
Okay. And the beauty of Texas is because it's so big. My list of lenders is going to be the same as someone else's list of lenders in Houston. So if you still wanted to reach out to me and get my cheat sheet, feel free to do that as well. So moving on to our next little topic here. So interest rates, we think, are going to continue to stay low. I think it's also due to the fact they lowered interest rates not because of people wanting to afford a house. The Fed lowered interest rates so that small businesses could get loans easier. and try to stimulate the economy that way. I mean, part of it was housing, but I think a good majority of it was to try to stimulate small businesses. Do you agree or disagree with that? I don't know. I'm just watching your expressions and you're like, well, maybe.
Of course they wanted to keep them low to keep housing moving. That was one of the sectors of the economy that was
Right.
growing exponentially.
Yeah.
And they like selling mortgage-backed securities. So that's what they did. So, I mean, it's not, it wasn't, they just know that was stimulating the economy and not keeping it stagnant. So they just kept it as low as they could.
Yeah. What about sellers? So sellers that are wanting to sell here in 2021, what have you been noticing? Have you only been seeing sellers that have to sell, or have you seen any sellers that were at one time on the fence and now they're like, nope, I'm ready to go. Let's get this moving. I need to get a bigger house. I need to get a smaller house. I want to go live with my grandchildren, or, back closer to my grandkids. What are you seeing as far as sellers in Louisiana?
Well, here it's like people that were thinking about selling are going ahead and selling because of the fact that they probably want a bigger house.
Okay.
But I've had several which I strange, and everybody's like, that isn't happening. They think I'm lying. But I had 2 houses that were under contract. These people had to sell. They were under forbearance. They didn't tell the listing agent, we're under contract, we're getting to the end, and they can't sell because they don't have enough equity to pay the forbearance back and pay off the mortgage. Happened twice to me this year, twice. Because there are people losing their jobs right now that they can't afford to pay their mortgage. And they are thinking that they're trying to skate out before they lose the house and they go into foreclosure. So they're trying to do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I had a seller towards the end of this year. It was very similar, trying to get out from under the house before even. And you talked a little bit with Jeremy Knight. He's one of our friends and realtors out of Austin, but trying to get out from under the mortgage before like tax liens and all that stuff kind of comes into play. And I think that every mortgage lender is going to handle that piece of the forbearance puzzle differently, because
it has to do with your state. It won't be the lender when it comes to taxes. Each state is going to tell them and dictate.
I mean, as far as who pays for the taxes, because if you're already escrowing and they're already putting those payments on the back of your loan, the bank would more likely want to keep that property in forbearance to try to hold on to it, versus it going, to the tax assessor and getting lost, getting taken essentially away from the bank because of the liens the taxes aren't being paid essentially.
With the last act, that's what they're doing. The last one they just signed in, basically the mortgage companies are paying the taxes.
Okay.
But the thing is that not those are only government backed FHA loans, VA loans, not conventional. So those people may not have that opportunity, and that's still not going to help people that are in alternative housing where they rent the land underneath it.
Well, they never got the assistance that they needed anyway in the first place. So,
which is terrible. Yeah. The people that needed the absolute most, they got totally. Yeah. I'll just stop.
A little bit.
They got boned.
Yeah. So I think that I'm hoping that sellers will start to realize, especially in this market, if you absolutely needed to sell, especially if as a seller, you're in a comfortable position to where you can actually qualify for both mortgages. I've seen some people that will actually try to make the purchase first, and then that way they can put their house on the market as soon as they get under contract with the purchase. So that way they won't have any overlapping mortgage payments. And if they do, because they're selling their house second, it's not going to be months and months and months,
We won't accept an offer here in Louisiana if your house is for sale and you don't have an offer on it. Like I'm sure there's agents that do it, but here, if I represent the seller and I'm like, they don't have their house on the market right now, I don't care what kind of market it is. You can forget about it.
I'm not talking about contingent buyers. I'm talking about non-contingent. Like you can
Okay.
actually qualify for both mortgages at the same time.
Gotcha.
And the
Gotcha.
bank is going to allow you to purchase this second home, so to speak. And then, you pretty much just do, a 1, 2, 3, and you're done. You do it in the reverse order, essentially. But yet most people can't afford both mortgages, so they do have to go on the route of, I have to put my house and put myself out there and put it on the market, and then as soon as we're under contract, I can go and look at properties, essentially.
I have a question, Rebecca, just because I'm interested to see how you guys do it. How are you getting your clients to win the house? How are you getting them to win the deal? What is it that you're doing in your contracts that allows your buyers to win it?
I would say the letter is a big factor. It's an underestimated piece that I would say that I think sellers.
The letter that she's referring to is the the bleeding heart letter is what I call it.
Letters, like those are so underestimated, because let's say that the seller is a veteran and I find out the seller is a veteran, and then I also have a buyer that's a veteran. By all means, I'm going to get that veteran buyer to write a letter letting this veteran know that, hey, I'm a veteran as well. I've served in da 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 da. Like I want them to see that, hey, even though it is a little bit less money, I'll take this veteran over this investor over here.
And
So
they do work sometimes.
it does work sometimes. It's not 100% slam dunk guarantee. I think it depends on the seller situation and what they, if they're in a dire situation to where they absolutely need to sell and they've had forbearance and that kind of thing, you may not see that as much. And terms are a really big thing. So either partially waiving or fully waiving the appraisal, that's become a thing here. And then also the terms of the contract. So making sure that, offering a, free lease back if the seller needs a lease back, just being extra accommodating, and also having the great terms, making it sound like it's a very sweet deal if you pass us up. And then just over communicating, having the lender make a phone call is a huge deal, which, Allison, that's why you want to make sure when you hire a lender that they're available on the Saturday and Sundays and in the evenings, because when you put your offer in for a property, you want to make sure that your lender's actually already communicating with the listing agent, letting them know how strong a candidate you are for this property over someone else where it could just fall out from under them.
Some people don't know what a lease back is.
Oh, a lease back. Thank you. A lease back is when you give the seller, extra time in the property after you've closed. So let's say that you close January 15th and you give the seller until January 31st to get their things together and just kind of comfortably transition out. Or if the seller needs that extra time to look for their property because it's a crazy market out there and they don't want to be contingent on the sale of their home. So once it's closed, they don't have to go to live temporarily in an apartment. They don't have to go temporarily live with their family or parents, whatever it might be. So it is a big trend if the seller needs that. Now, in this kind of market, if it's a vacant house, it's like, well, that's not going to give you any leverage at all. But if you don't know, I mean, I think just communicating to the other side also, I think, really helps when one offer over the next offer too, because they're like, I really liked that person and how communicative they were and how, and I kind of not that the listing agent would be steering them, but they're just even more excited about the transaction because they know that it's already going to be, it's a done deal because they feel confident. I think confidence is a big key factor when you're trying to win over a seller as well. Because there are lots of properties that are back on the market. I've seen quite a few of them because unfortunately, maybe the buyer lost their job, or at the very last minute, something happened and they couldn't qualify for what they thought they could. So,
well, what I do to get those offers to win is Of course, you remember we were talking about earlier about the CMA. I showed my clients the CMA, and I'm like, look, the house is priced at 340. The neighborhood is in line with this price.
Yeah.
In order for you to win this deal, you're going to have to go, of course, above asking price because you have 5 other people. How high you want to go, that's entirely up to you. But to make the deal sweeter, don't ask for a long inspection period.
Yeah.
Like like 5 days. The second thing is if you have a property that you have to sell, try to see if you can get that contingency off. Like see if it's possible that if you are pretty secure with the fact that your house is going to sell, don't have any contingency on buying this house. And
Right.
if you're concerned about that, before you even put in an offer on the house and you have another one to sell, see if you can do something called a bridge loan, which will take the equity out of your current house to bridge it into the new house until your house sells. That's one way you can do it. You will talk to your lender about that. And
oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish. Then I want to make a comment about something you said about the bridge.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. There's another way of doing that too. There's all sorts of different ways you can do that. And then and then the inspection period be small. Don't ask for a home warranty, and just try to make that offer as clean as possible. That piece of paper should look very not a paragraphs of crap that you want them to take out and put in and ask for special stuff. Make it as clean as possible, because I know there's some people that are like, I really like that pool table. Do you think they'd leave that? And I really want to make sure that the blinds and all the curtain rods are there too, especially the baby's room. I like the one in the baby's room. Like, don't do that. Like, if you want the house in this market, don't be picky. Don't ask for a bunch of silly stuff. Try to make that contract as clean as possible. So that's what I've been recommending to my clients. And when they want to go up and are comfortable with going up over that amount, that's up to them. That will go up as high as they want me to.
If they want to, exactly. And they're able
but
to.
I will tell them though, when they say, well, we're thinking about going $20,000 over, and I'll go, are you really willing to give up $20,000? Because really you're handing them $20,000. Do you really believe that this neighborhood's going to go up $20,000 in the next, let's just say 3 years?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm just saying you're taking a big risk because you have no concrete evidence that it will go up 20% in the next, let's just say 3 years. So are you willing to take that risk? And then they're like, well, do you think, I said, you have the risk of losing the house or the risk of losing $20,000. This is you, but I just want you to think about that on how much you're going over. And they're like,
right.
Yeah, they appreciate my honesty. I think I've probably talked people out of houses because of the fact I'm so honest, because I don't want people to lose their money. I don't want them to sit back in their house 2 years from now and say they lost $20,000 and gone, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I don't want
the water. Yeah.
So I'd much rather be honest with them.
Yeah. No, there was one client that like you said, that was like way low. It was like the model home 5 years ago, So gorgeous, like all the upgrades, all the features, custom wall design, and it just looks gorgeous, right? I think the people who purchased it just purchased it with all the furniture that the model home had even. And so just like, to the nines, gorgeous, beautiful, obviously multiple offers. When we did offer over asking, and they offered as much as they were comfortable, and we won the thing. But when the appraisal came in, because the listing agent had it down so much lower than what it was really worth, we actually gained equity as a result of the listing agent not doing her homework essentially on that property. Because we were seeing comparable properties in different areas that were just like not as nice as this one, and there was another one in the neighborhood that was for sale at the exact same price, didn't have the same features or bells and whistles as this one did, because it was the model home, right? And I think she kind of messed up a little bit for her sellers, because she initially lost money for them in that sense.
I think one of the things that's really important in this market in 2021 is finding the right real estate agent to work with you. And in order for you to do that, it's just very similar to the lenders. You need to interview with real estate agents. I would interview 3 or 4 5 even. And the thing is that what people don't understand is don't use all 3, 4, 5, whatever, how many you talk to as to show you to drive around and show you houses, because that's just, you shouldn't do that. This, this is, we don't get paid until the deal closes. The people don't understand that. So in order for, just find somebody that you like working with first before you start going out and looking at houses with people. Don't go with 4 or 5 different agents. First of all, you're going to get confused on who you spoke to about what particular house, and you're not even going to remember. You'll be like, didn't you show me this house? Oh, that must have been blah blah blah. Don't waste real estate agents' time like that. Find one that you like working with, that you know that will work for you, and ask them specifically, what have you done to win the deal with other agents? What is it that you have done to work for your clients to make sure that they win that house? There's so many houses on the market right now that get scooped up really fast. What is it that makes you different than every other real estate agent I spoke to? How will I get the house that I want? And see what they have to say. Because sometimes if they don't have an answer for you, then that's the person you need to walk right out the door and say, forget about it. You have to interview those agents. And there's lots of videos out there that talk about finding the right real estate agent. One of my favorite ways to do this is, if you find a real estate agent, you can say, oh, can I see some of the listings you've had in the past? And they say, oh yeah, sure. And if you pull them up and their pictures for their houses look like garbage, walk out. First of all, a photographer for real estate agents is a very small price to pay for the benefit that it helps the client. And if they're not willing to pay the couple $100s that it costs for professional photographs for their clients that they're selling a home for, what are they going to do for you for a buyer if they're not willing to do that for their seller? Second thing is too, when you're looking at those listings, and let's just say they do have professional photographs, ask to see their listing videos. If they don't have a listing video for those clients, again, what are they going to do for you as a buyer if they're not willing to take that extra step to get them sold for their sellers? They're not willing to go that extra step for you as a buyer as well. So that's something you need to look at. You can go on any national site. And if you're interested in a real estate agent, they have like all sorts of ways you can find out. But don't take the 5-star ratings as solid gold. And there is a way that people have fudged the numbers on those 5-star ratings.
Yeah.
So just be very cautious when you're looking up, reviews and everything of a real estate agent. Of course, there's many people that have very legitimate reviews. There are some that have done some shady business. It's just like anything. Like if you go on YouTube, you'll see people and you're like, you don't have 10,000 subscribers. You bought those. You go on their Instagram account and be like, you do not have 30,000 followers. You bought those.
Yeah. Those are all the questions to ask. I don't know if there was part of one of my videos where I kind of talk about like questions that you should ask. I think it was in one of my behind the scenes, like little buyer videos, that I made. I'm sure you have one in your hidden a long time ago that you did for how to find a real estate agent, or no?
Oh, I'm mostly how do you fire your real estate agent?
Oh, okay. Who not to hire. I think I've seen that one.
Yeah, one of the things is too, though, because Allison said she had a horrible first-time agent. The first agent that she ever bought a house for was a horrible. Mm-hmm. So Allison, if this happens to you again, say you've met this real estate agent and you really ended up liking them, and they were doing so great, and then it came down to the deal part, and it's like you can't get them on the phone, they're not answering your emails, you're getting to the point of frustration. Mm-hmm. The first thing you need to do, Allison, is go and call their broker, because that is their boss.
The next chain in command. Yeah.
The next in the chain of command. First of all, it will not destroy the commission for the original agent. Secondly of all, it allows that broker to remedy the problem that you guys had. And that's the first thing the broker always wants to do, because even though they work for them, they still represent you as well because it represents their company. So they'll go out of their way to make sure that that transaction all the way through will work out. So either that broker
will recommend another agent as well.
I was just going to say, either what will happen then is either the broker will take it over completely, or she'll recommend somebody else in that office to take it over, and you won't have to deal with that other agent.
Yeah.
So just know that you like always try to work it out with the people that you're already working with originally.
Yeah. So I know Eddie said hi earlier, and he said, we had a horrible experience when we were moving to Baton Rouge with our first agent. Kind of,
yeah, that's my husband. We did. We had a terrible agent. And my husband ended up calling somebody because we saw a sign in the yard. It ended up, before I even moved here, I said I wanted to move to this specific area. Well, the agent that we ended up getting didn't know anything about this area. As a matter of fact, he got lost, and there my husband is with a map telling him how to get out of certain areas. He goes, you're going the wrong way. He's like, are you sure? He's like, this is the way to Airline Highway. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, real estate agents should know their area. Well, this guy, he was a Baton Rouge agent. He wasn't this area, which is Ascension Parish. So after that, I'm like, oh my God, he's a dingleberry. So, and he kept trying to talk us into this one house that literally the bricks in the floor are already popping up off the floor. I don't know if you guys, do you have brick pavers there?
So are you talking about like bricks on the floor though?
Yeah. Brick paver floors. That's a thing here. Brick paver floors. Anyways, those were popping off the ground. You'd have to see it. It's a Louisiana thing. I don't know how it is there, but everything here has a lot of millwork, a lot of crown molding, brick pavers, a lot of cypress wood cabinetry. It's and like as soon as you walk in, you're like, this is a Louisiana house. Like everybody knows, it's like you can't hide it.
I know we have brick pavers like on sidewalks and stuff, like leading up to the house, like that type of thing.
These are shiny. They're shiny. They definitely have like a grout line, like a thick grout line like you would see outside, but they're smooth, like tile almost.
Okay. You have to send me a picture later.
I will.
No, we just have the laminate. Laminates become really popular. Hardwood, hand scrape hardwood, all that.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's been really good. Well, it is just about an hour. I think we hit on everything.
Yep, good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. Questions and interaction from our audience, and we got a shout out from Eddie too. So
thank you, Allison, for popping in, and Amir.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate you for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yes, it was good to have you on to kind of talk about what we think is going to happen and hopefully help some of these buyers get homes for 2021. So
yeah, gotta find the right agent. Everybody find the right agent. It's important. Yeah.